Any archers in here? Anybody hunt archery, hunters? Yeah, you guys would recognize this. Mathews Archery. Probably for a decade, Mathews bows were the Mercedes-Benz of all bows. When I first started in archery, I was like, somebody told me to get one, and I'm like, man, it's 5 times the price of this other one. But they are really the best. But here's the story behind the story. Matt McPherson, who's also the founder of McPherson Guitars, who Don Potter told me it's the best guitar he's ever owned. He owns a McPherson guitar. So Matt McPherson started Mathews Bows and McPherson Guitars. And he started it, he heard a word the first time in 1977. Some of you weren't even alive then, but God said to him, I'm going to prosper you in business so you can be self-sufficient in ministry. And doesn't that remind you, you guys remember 2 Corinthians 9:8, that I'll give you abundance for every good work. Thanks, Ed. So God's speaking to him directly a prophetic word. Maybe Chris and Tom have another phrase used for this when God speaks to you directly, but it's a prophetic word. He's talking about a future event, but he's using the rekindling of a scripture, and he speaks to him directly. And I think it reminds me of that scripture from 2 Corinthians 9:8, that God will give you an abundance for every good work, so that always in all sufficiency you'll always have more than enough. In 1983, now notice the time difference there, he received a literal blueprint from God on how to make a technologically advanced bow. A little bit of a protracted time frame. 1977, he hears this audible word from God. 1983, he receives this blueprint. And this is cool. Matt woke up in the middle of the night to a vision of a new bow design. It was literally like a sheet of notebook paper, and it was, a white sheet of paper, and it had this picture on it, I guess. I got this from his archives or something similar to it. And for those of you that know archery, this is the first solo cam bow that was ever invented. This technology wasn't used by archers. His bows were the first one ever. And went on, he had an incredible patent on it. Matt's experience comes direct from God. You know what I like to think about, Tom? He gets investors. Can you imagine him explaining this to his investors? Listen, guys, I want you to invest in this because the other night a sheet of paper came down and stood in front of my eyes, and I've got this new bow. And before that, God spoke to me audibly and told me that this thing is all going to work out. I mean, he must have had the right group of guys to invest in that project. But historically, that's what happened. He went on to be one of the biggest bow makers. Isn't this encouraging?